Jennifer has about 15 minutes presentation. I said to her, can you shorten it to about 6 minutes? And she said, no way. So I'm just teasing you. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Thank you, Jill. I will do my best, and I'll just say that these slides will be made available to the organizers, so we are going to just really fly through some of them. But good morning, everyone. My name is Jen Pyrick. I am the veterinarian and director at the laboratory animal facilities. So assuming that many of you may not have thought much about animal research, but it may be something that is on your radar or makes its way into your horizon. So just here to explain a little bit about what we have available. So I have some contact information. This is just sort of something to refer to later, but there's some key people that we just want to encourage you if you are starting to think about animal research, if you've done that kind of work elsewhere or never done it at all, just reach out to us sooner than later. Occasionally, I will meet someone by way of just seeing their IACUC protocol and having, just no former knowledge that they would be doing animal work, and that works. It's okay, but I can help work with you to make things just go a lot more efficiently if we know what you're thinking about doing. So UB's animal facilities are actually we cover all 3 campuses. We actually have 7 different facilities at the moment, 2 or 3 per campus. And I think I can safely say that health sciences does occupy a little bit of space on all those campuses, most heavily downtown and the South Campus, but we do have some biomedical engineering that collaborates with the medical school that's on North Campus as well. So we have lots of places. The decision of where your animal work would happen depends on a lot of factors that have to do with what college you're associated in your department, and then just the capacity to hold that particular species, or just the some places we have a little more space than others. So it's definitely a multifactorial decision, but I think UB as a university does a great job of putting animals closer to PIs versus centralizing them, which might be operationally a little bit more easy, but I think the PIs are well accommodated here, so it's a plus. So you have 2 facilities on the North Campus that are primarily rodent facilities. The South Campus has our largest, most historic lab animal facility with a lot of different specialty units, a capacity for some large animals. The pharmacy building also has a small rodent facility. And then downtown, we have 3 different buildings that with lab animal facilities. The largest is JSMBS, so the Jacobs School of Medicine. We have a fairly good sized, and I'll say quite full animal facility. It's on the lower levels. If you happen to be in that building, you may not have any awareness of it. You have to be able to get all the way to B2 in the basement. That has both animal biosafety level 2 and 3, a high level barrier. It's primarily a rodent facility, but we do have some capacity for some, medium-sized species, rabbits and frogs, and occasionally even a few pigs have been in that building. CTRC is the facility that has the biggest clinical focus, and it was designed as a large animal primarily facility. We do have capacity for rodents there as well. And then RIA has a small animal facility that has a rodent focus. So I mentioned rodents. That's the primary species are mice and rats that we house here, but we do have capacity for a lot of other different species. This is a breakdown of our census, and at any given time, I tell people, we usually have at least 10,000 research animals under our care, which can be a surprising statistic. Most of them are mice, followed by rats. And then we have a small number of all the different species, and this varies quite a bit throughout the year, but just a good snapshot of research projects and animal models that the university can accommodate. The services that we offer in a nutshell, you can consult with veterinarians. I'm one of the veterinarians. We have two other clinical veterinarians. We have 5 veterinary technicians, and then just numerous animal care technicians who provide the husbandry services, feeding, watering, changing the animals. And we do look at the animals every single day of the year. So, even on the big holiday mornings, weekend mornings, there is always someone that checks in at all of our different facilities. If you're new to animal work and you've done work elsewhere, you might be importing animals from another institution. That's a process that will guide you through. Again, get in touch with us sooner than later. Um, Part of what we can just consider part of our basic care for all animals. If there's any thing whatsoever. The animal has, a tiny little skin abrasion, all the way up to anything more serious. That animal has veterinary care. That's part of what we provide at no extra cost to investigators. So if we need to work up any cases, that's all considered just what we do at the lab animal facility. We also keep controlled drug licenses. So controlled drugs are available through the lab animal facility at 5 different locations. We have 2 buildings that are the investigators tend to have their own licenses just due to the nature of the work. But for most of the locations, you're able to get drugs through the LAF if they are on your protocol. We have both barrier and biocontainment housing at specific locations. You're able to rent certain medical equipment. Anesthesia machines is kind of the biggest one, but we have some other things that are available for your studies. And then we provide in the LAF, we provide the hands-on training that is required by the IACUC, which Rich just touched a lot on, the Institutional Animal Care and Use Committee. So a couple slides on costs. We're just going to breeze through those because, again, if you are in need of any of this, I'll make this presentation available. If you're in the grant application stage, I just want to make sure everyone knows we have some boilerplate language for that vertebrate animal section of the grant. So this is available on our website. I have it in this presentation so you can read through it later. So I want to focus on this slide if you're new and you're preparing for some animal work. Again, just please, reach out to me. Or any of our other staff. We have a common email address, and that's labanimal@buffalo.edu, trying to make it easy to remember. Just tell us what you're thinking about doing, where you're coming from. Maybe you've never done animal work before and you want to talk about how to design some studies or know what we can accommodate. We can have all those conversations early and hopefully make the process a good one for you. I tell people, if you're importing, really start that process even before you have an IACUC protocol, because it just tends to take a while to get animals from one institution to another. Sometimes you have to deal with, material transfer agreements. Even if you don't have an approved IACUC protocol, we can bring animals in and the LAF can hold them on ours. So we'd rather have them get here and have you still be working out some of those other details versus the other way around where you can't even start that process until you get them there, because that tends to add a lot of time. Also tell everybody, even if you're new to the university, get your UBIT so that you can start working in CLIC and working on all of the required protocols, as well as taking some of the training. City training's already been mentioned. We also have some digital courses on UB Learns that complement our hands-on courses. So we like to have people, even if their appointment hasn't quite started yet, getting some of those things checked off so that when you're ready to go, you can get started. There's some great resources for you if you haven't worked with CLIC before. So encourage you to reach out to those different individuals and departments. If you're doing anything with animals, it's all about the IACUC protocol. If you have any kind of biosafety component to your animal work, you'll also need an IBC protocol. So that should be started as well. It's important that if you're working with animals in any capacity, enroll in our occupational health program. We can direct you on how to do that. We work with the Great Lakes Physician Services out of ECMC that help us with that. And then we talked about already working on some of your online training and and letting me know if you're going to want to use our controlled drug licenses and get your drugs to them. Then I start another process, which involves background checks, etc. So there's a lot of details that are probably self-explanatory that I might need to know. We can talk through those things. That where you'll be is sometimes a complicated decision, because it really depends on so many things. But we can talk about that and start to get an idea. What I don't really get to decide is where people's labs are, because labs aren't inside the LAF, the wet labs. It's the housing, but it can definitely work with anybody to try to make sure you have animal housing where you need it. Okay, some of this is probably a little bit more specific, because I don't even know if everybody on here would ever use animal models. Said most people that do use rodents, we have different levels of barriers that are at different places, and that's just a highly sterile housing. So we have that available some places and not others. We'll just won't get too far into the weeds of that. Biocontainment, so just having animals in general is usually considered an animal biosafety level 1, which is just kind of the basic level. Then if it's anything that could be infectious, we can accommodate 2. And then we even have an ABSL 3, but that's only at JSMBS and really limited to small rodents, which we define as probably just mice. So we might be able to get some hamsters in there if that was ever something someone wanted to do. So these are more in-depth directions that we won't go over right now, but they're here in case you want to refer back to this. We have definitely some steps to take for ordering animals. I presented this at another kind of LAF 101, and so we kind of got into this so that these are kind of common questions people have. Importing animals from a non-standard vendor, so something that's not a major company like Jack's Labs, if it's a private university, we have to make sure we don't bring any pathogens that we're trying to exclude from our program in accidentally. So there's a process for that. We have a facility manager. Her name is Liz Ertl, and she's also a great person to meet. Her email was in one of those front slides, and she will introduce you to your animal care supervisor at your building once we know that you're getting started. So we just really want you to meet our team. We want to make sure we fully understand the needs, especially if you have any specialized housing, feeding, watering, if you have something that we should know about the strain of mice you're working with, for example. Just really all about communication. I mentioned we have 3 veterinarians, including myself, and 5 veterinary technicians. If you have veterinary questions or comments or concerns of any type, we have one common email. So we do work as a team. We always have different people on different campuses, but that can vary. And, you might be, if you email an individual person, that person might be off. So we tend to function as a team. We're reached at lafvetstaff@buffalo.edu. If you have any concern at all about your animal, really 24/7, 365, there is always a veterinarian on call, and that's actually required by the regulation. So you can always reach one of us directly, and we're happy to talk to you and evaluate. We talked a little bit already about training requirements. It just kind of summarizes what you would need to do and when. So I'm going to keep speeding through since I was encouraged to do that. There's some links to how to get into UB Learns, and we have our training courses. You can refer to this again in the future. The hands-on training, you have 90 days to complete anything that's required after your IACUC protocol would get approved. And that's because we don't want anybody to be held up if they're just waiting for a rodent handling class. And, there's not one until the 2 weeks from then, something like that. But we do, in the LAF, we do present the hands-on training courses that the IACUC requires. We have various different, sort of like a workshop type of class. You'll come in for a couple hours, and there'll be a single topic, and you'll have a member of our veterinary staff that leads the training. enrolling in the occupational health program, it starts with submitting a form. So we encourage you to do that as soon as possible. You might have extra requirements depending on exactly what you're working with, especially if you're working with any pathogens, or if you have any personal health concerns that you disclose. So this goes directly to the physician's office. So nobody on either the IACUC or the LAF is looking at your own personal health information, because of course that is protected. Okay, so as an animal facility, we are ALAC accredited. That is a voluntary accreditation that UB has participated in since 1966. We're actually the 39th animal facility ever. So I know that because our number is 39, and we recently had an accreditation visit, and they said, wow, you guys are really one of the first institutions. We don't usually see numbers this low. So kudos to the university for deciding long ago they wanted to go above and beyond, because we have species that are regulated by the USDA. We also have a USDA license. It means we're subject to surprise inspections. Sometimes they come quite often. Other times we only see them once a year. We never really know, but when they do arrive, everything stops, and that is what we do for the day. We have, of course, a PHS assurance because we have a lot of funding. Most animal work currently is funded through the NIH. We hope it stays that way. And of course, and being in New York State, we also have to have a Department of Health certificate for the use of living vertebrate animals. So we are also inspected by the DOH, and that's typically an on-site inspection. The DEA licenses us for all those drug licenses that I talked about. They can also come on site for both that, and we're required to have additionally, in addition to our DEA controlled licenses, we have to have DOH licenses. So we have duplicate drug licenses. So there are tons of regulations. We like to say, leave it to us to keep track of them. We'll let you know if we need anything different. But I tell people, many of whom are often surprised that really research animal use is the most regulated use of animals. I have done other things in my veterinary career, and this is by far, every animal has a veterinarian. There's no choice not to, and we really are here on behalf of them. We want things to go really well for your research. We want it to be a collaboration, but we're first and foremost here to make sure that the animals get great care. So Rich mentioned the IACUC. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're almost at 20 actually.
Okay.
So,
I think
do you have
that's all of it. Yeah, we can stop there.
Okay, perfect. Okay, all right. Okay.
There's a few extra slides, but that was pretty much the end. So I will send those to you. Thank you, Jill.
We'll distribute it as well. So thank you for taking the time to prep and for doing this. And I know the last time you were supposed to present, you actually did have inspectors show up. So thanks again.
Yes.